So good evening to all of you, right? Okay, all of you can see my screen, right? Do feel free at any point of time if you have any question to ask, right? Or you can't hear, you can't see the image, right? Or the slides, just let me know, right? Okay, so today our topic is how AI is changing the world, right? And the role of AI in digital economy. I'm sure we all know, right? How AI or machine learning is being used, right? So maybe I move on to the next slide. Okay, so what then is AI? So let's start talking about AI. So interestingly, just now Selena was talking about HDB flat, right? Okay, so let's talk about HDB flat. So supposedly, you want to buy a HDB flat, let's say a 4-room HDB flat, right? Surely, you need to you will do some survey, right, to understand like what's the pricing like, right? And also, the pricing is based on a lot of factors, correct? So the factors is actually your input. So input like what? Input like what is the level that you're staying, correct? The higher the floor, the more expensive it is, correct? Yeah, and also whether how many kilometers are you near to the MRT, right? What are the facilities that's around, correct? So all these are input factors. So based on the input factors, right, you actually have some historical data to tell you what is the potential output, correct? Or what is the selling price of the HDB 4-room flat, correct? So AI, right? In AI, there's this thing called machine learning. So in machine learning, you can have two types. One is called supervised machine learning. The other one is called unsupervised machine learning. So the supervised type is the case of the 4-room HDB flat, where you put in all your inputs, right? And then you have the historical data, right? You train, right? Of course, you must adopt a model. Then this model can be linear regression, logistic regression, space vector machine, and so on. There are many models. Then you adopt this model and you train the model to see whether, based on the input, right, can you actually obtain the same historical pricing, right, based on these factors, right? And every time you train it, right, the results, depending on your model, you should get more and more accurate, such that after you finish the training, you will usually test it, right, with the data, right? And then based on the testing, you can then add on proposing the price, right? Or even to lower the price when you want to actually buy the 4 HDB flat, but not deviate too far away from it. You know what I mean? If you really want to get, if you're really serious about getting that flat. So that, as a simple example, right, is actually machine learning in artificial intelligence, right? In a simpler form to actually explain to you. Okay, so basically AI make use of, first, we all have to agree, right? The more data you have, right, the more you can do the training for the model, and therefore the accuracy will be greater, correct? Okay, so that and therefore AI needs big data, right? Needs big data. And also in the medical area, right, there's also this thing called a neurotechnology, right? You know, our minds, right, is neural network, right? This one I think Selena should know, right? It's a neural network, right? So there are many layers, right, to help us to make decisions. So likewise in AI, there are also many layers with the different nodes where different weights are being assigned to emphasize on certain inputs that give a far better or accurate output, correct? So it's for decision making. Then the third thing in AI, we actually have this sensor and IoT, Internet of Things. We heard about it many times, right? So what is sensor and IoT? Sensor and IoT, put it simply, right? I just described to you a story. Imagine this, okay? Imagine this, a building that can self-run without any human intervention. So what do I mean by this? Okay, imagine this, robots, right? Robots can just talk to computer servers. Servers will assign work to the robot to clean up every level, okay, to maintain every level cleanliness. And after they have finished cleaning up every level, right, then what happened? They can take the lift on their own, right, and they can move to the level where there's no other robot cleaning it. So that is sensor and IoT, because you need to sense the presence of the robot, right, and you need to give a instruction to it, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's sensors and IoT. Of course, we currently we also rely a lot on wireless technologies, right? For those, if you are in the facilities management, you would understand that currently with COVID, right? Let's talk about COVID. We need the airflow rate to be high, the change of airflow in a room to be high, right? Because of the virus. So we need to make sure that the air circulation is good. Well, Kelvin, thanks for your remarks. Yes, it's like sound of hotel. Okay, later, interestingly, I'll tell you some story about hotel and also IBM Watson, right? IBM has actually used this technology called Watson, right? Later, I'll share more. Thanks, right? So they can also use robot to send things to them. That's right. Okay, so regarding wireless technology, we all know that, back to the topic, we all know that there can be that it's very important to have a high airflow rate in rooms because of COVID-19, right? That's why you need to open the windows and all that. In terms of wireless technology, you can actually tag on Wi-Fi wireless to actually control what you call the heat ventilation and aircon or airflow system, right? So you can use that. You can detect a few things. You can detect the temperature. You can use sensor to detect the temperature. And all this you must write on the wireless infrastructure, like your Wi-Fi, right? Temperature, humidity, right, and even the airflow, right? And then based on these three factors, using Wi-Fi, wireless technology, it can therefore regulate the amount of airflow through the ventilator or the ventilation duct, so to speak, right? So that is one good application, right, of wireless technology. Okay, in terms of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, we have heard of it many times, right? AI can also be used in that to actually blockchain, as we all know, because nowadays we always talk about integrity of system. So how do we secure the integrity of system, right? Especially IT system, right? Then we can use blockchain as a way to, because with blockchain simply means that information, right? Last time, when you want to access information, right, the information are all centralized, say in a bank server and all that, right? So you got to sign in, right? And then you got to access the information there, correct? But with blockchains, right, they actually distribute the information and place it even in the end user devices like your handphone, your iPad, right? So such that every time you access, right, they will piece out all the various information to make out the whole picture, right? So that makes it a lot more safer, right? As compared with a hacker that managed to hack into a centralized system, right? And then steal everything. Okay, so that's why we actually have blockchain, right? And you can actually apply AI in that as well, right? Yeah. Okay. And of course, we can go on. AI can also be used for like cloud computing, right? Like Amazon, right? Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Services, which are in the cloud. The good thing about cloud computing or storing information in the cloud is that it is scalable, right? That means there's no fixed volume, right? You can store as much as you like, right? The security can be also secured, far more secure, right? At the cloud computing, and also you don't have to. Last time, remember, we have to wait for server to respond, right? But now we don't have to because everything is in the data center. So they use edge computing to actually process it, and immediately the response can be given back to you. So there is this what you call latency. Latency means there's a delay in a signal. They help to eliminate the latency in this signal that's being sent, right? Okay, so basically this is an overview about artificial intelligence, right? So now that we have a good understanding of perhaps artificial intelligence, right, So what then is the role of AI in digital economy, right? Yeah, in fact, to do that, I think we also need to understand what is digital economy. It came out in one of the Times magazine, which says that AI or data analytics is the new oil for the digital economy. Right. Last time, I think a lot of our mechanism needs to work on oil, petrol, diesel, right? But now in a new digital economy, data and data analytics is actually the new oil, right? That powers the economy, right? So basically, when we talk about digital, okay, let me need to mute, right? Because there may be echoes. Okay, thanks. So digital economy, of course, when we talk about economy, means that we are talking about the GDP, right? Gross domestic production, and we talk about economic activities, like growth, creating more job creation in simple terms, right? And then people has better salary, more spending power, correct? Yeah. So in digital economy, right, the production factor is data, digital data, right? And this economy actually forms up what you call the information space, the ability to interact and also exchange information, right, for your economic activities, like for instance, banking, correct? So that is a form of exchanging of digital information, right? And therefore, people can even pay wirelessly, cashlessly, or wirelessly. Oh, yeah. So that is digital economy itself, like your GrabPay. Although recently we all know GrabPay now increased by $1 for every top up, which means that the strategy is that you got to one shot top up more, right? In order to, to be more economical, right? Right, in the topping up. So basically, there are a few things that the digital economy must meet. First, I think like right now you are in a webinar, right? Yeah. So like training, we can conduct training also via Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Team, right? So in a way, it meets the what? The training needs or the competency needs of people as well. So that is also a form of digital economy in itself, right? So that using the high quality and reliable information, right, we can use it usefully for the benefits of people. Like the other thing that I'm sure you also notice, especially in the medical arena, is that nowadays you can just using Zoom or dial in to actually see a doctor, cyber doctors, right? So that is also a form of business, digital business in itself, right? Although there are still quite some limitation, right? Okay. Then of course, with that, the government IMDA in particularly set forth to develop because with that you need a lot of digital infrastructure, like the processing speed, right, of this digital information, the passing of information. So that's why we have 5G, right? We have 5G, right? We also promote the use of wireless, right? For especially for the seniors, right? You can see in the library they have a digital ambassador that teach them how to use some of the services digitally, especially during COVID, right? Because imagine this: you go to a NTUC food fair, right? So they want to see whether you're vaccinated or not, right? If you don't even know how to use the Trace Together app, you have difficulty, right? You can't be bringing a piece of paper every now and then that could have worn out as well, right? So that's why there lies urgency and a growth opportunity for digital businesses, infrastructure, and hence the economy, right? And along the way, of course, we have new info communication technologies that came out, right? Yeah. So you may have read some of these new infocom technologies in the news. One of them is that what you are carrying, which is the Trace Together token, right? Or for the case of migrant worker, the Blue Pass token. That's a new technology, right? Basically, what it does is it actually exchange information, right, with another token, all right? And then when they need to do contact tracing, right, they have a way to actually download all this information to identify the people, right? So that is a new info communication technology in itself, right? Yeah. Okay, let me move on. So what then is some of the usefulness of AI in digital business? Why should we therefore learn AI, right? Okay, because AI is so useful, it's able to first recognize pattern, right? It's able to, especially when your data is very huge, and also your data is very varied. Okay, like you have structured data in the form of a table, you have unstructured data like the social media that you and me visit every now and then, Facebook, Twitter, and all that, right? And also you may have a semi-structured data that is a result of what you call transactional kind of machine that you have every now and then, right? So therefore, you need AI to do pattern recognition and analysis of this data to see if there's any pattern. And that's why predominantly AI is actually used a lot in the financial sector to actually detect frauds, right? Like for all of a sudden, your bank has a certain amount that comes in, right? That spikes up the total amount, right? Yeah, then there is some reason to actually try to understand why, right? So they will send out an alert. So then, if especially when you have a lot of this money coming in at different intervals, right? Okay, that push up your total saving to a very high amount, then potentially it could be a case of what money laundering, right? Or money move, right? That means you allow people to use your bank account to transfer ill-gotten money, right? So that's where if you do it manually is a bit difficult, right? Because the humans with huge data sometimes it's very hard to actually detect those patterns. So that's why you need AI, which is tireless, right? Yeah, and in fact, there was if you are in the security industry, there was a joke. They say that, security guard, they often need to look at all the CCTV, right? Closed circuit TV, and there were a lot of images, right? There was a study that shown that after maybe say about 5 to 10 minutes, right? Right, your mind automatically will shut off, right? You won't really detect any much abnormality, especially when you have too many screens to look at. But the good news is if you use AI or video analytics, right, it is able, right, to detect even people that is loitering, right, at a certain point in your building, capture the face, and you are also able to identify where did this person go from at different time. And it's just like that, right? At a snap of finger, it's very fast. And because of that, right, like in the case of, let's say, a security industry, therefore it helps you to reduce some transactional costs. You know what I mean? So instead of like hiring 5 security guard to take care of, let's say, 5 building, maybe all you need is just 1 security guard. And of course, you must incorporate AI into your CCTV security monitoring system, right? Or at most, I think 2 to back up in case one needs to go to a restroom. You know what I mean? So that helps you to reduce your costs, right? In terms of hiring of manpower, right? In terms of spending time going through so much data, right? To actually find that patterns. Yeah. And because of that, let me share with you a story. I got many stories to actually share with you. Right. Walmart, right? Yeah, Walmart. Yeah, Walmart predominantly they make use of AI or video analytics a lot. So one of the area they make use of is that by tapping on video analytics, right, is able to identify which of their products are depleting. And thereafter, when the product is depleting, right, on the shelf, they can automatically trigger who? Trigger the vendor or the supplier to do a top up. And because of this, right, so what happened, right? What it means is that now they don't need a physical warehouse. if they don't need a physical warehouse, means what? Means that they save a lot, right, on all these costs. And with the saving, what can they do? They can pass the saving to customer like you and me by lowering the price, right, of the goods, right? And as a result of that, it can attract and can retain customers in the long run, okay? And of course, the other good thing about artificial intelligence is that you can actually copy and distribute this data, right, without losing the accuracy, right? And the data in return can be used for many other purposes, right? Say in a healthcare industry, right? If we know some of these data, like for instance, whether is it heart disease, diabetes, and all that, so we can look at what are some of the mitigating factors and to see whether there is a correlation between this data and the disease itself, right? So that's why we can make use of AI to actually look at the retina, right? It came out in a recent A-star research, look at the retina and detect not just whether you have glaucoma, which is the pressure building up in your eyes, but it can also detect whether, right, there is a potential case whereby you may have diabetes, just by looking at the veins and doing the analysis. But of course, in order to train the machine to do that, you got to give the machine many pictorial data for it to train, right, to identify the signs of a diabetic patient, right? Okay, let me now move on. Okay, so with that, we all know that with digitalization, do you all know what is the difference between digitization and digitalization? Anyone want to try? Yeah, digitization and digitalization. Yeah, okay. I guess no one has responded so far. Okay, so digitization is just transforming or transferring or converting your whatever, example, physical document to a digital form. That's all, right? Digitalization, right, is about integrating processes, right, and making that coordination digitally feasible, right, across, right, the different stages of that process. So that is digitalization, right? And with digitalization, you can be sure that when you are involved in manufacturing or production, right, you can have a production line that don't have to be manned by any human, right? But it can run on its own when you feed it with the raw materials, right? And you can also customize it, perhaps, right, to the different customer needs in different batches, right? So that is possible, right? And that has really happened using robotics, using sensor Internet of Things, using artificial intelligence, right? Yeah, and with that, what it means is that your product, right, can reach the market much faster, okay, much faster, and especially so during the pandemic's time. And because of the usefulness of AI in this area, AI in some cases, like for instance, let's say we talk about telco. So in telco, there's also a possibility where they can map out your relationship with the rest of customer. So because of your phone calls and all that, so when you call up and maybe you indicate that, hey, actually, I want to withdraw, right, from the telco, right? They can therefore look at your relationship with other customer and decide whether or not it is worth investing more in you, right? So that you can be an ambassador for their brand to help to promote the rest, right? By having to look at your network, right? Through your phone calls and all that, and also your spending power, right? So that can also be used as a tool for brand promotion and also increasing sales and to predict whether or not you will come back, right? And if you come back, what are the reasons? You know what I mean? Yeah. And the other usefulness of AI, right, is that in some of the shop that you may have gone to, like a Lego shop, right? So we went to Lego shop, right? You can take your Lego box, you display in front of this, there's a sensor unit that can sense it, right, with that QR code, and it shows you how to build that Lego from scratch, right? So it increases some form of business interaction with you, isn't it? Right? Because it makes you feel excited to see that the product building up in front of you, how the Lego is being built up in front of you. And children gets even more excited, right? And when children gets more excited, what happens? The parents end up likely to buy it for them. So it increase some and enhance that kind of business interaction with customers, right? The other thing is that let's talk about RFID, radio frequency identification tag. So it's also commonly used in the hospital, right? It's a sticker that you perhaps wristband, no? You stick around your wrist, so it can identify patients who wander out of the hospital, and therefore triggered the hospital personnel or even security, right, to bring the patient back because of safety. So it allows you to make smarter decisions and more accurate, with more accurate results. But of course, in a supply chain, right, you can also make use of AI and RFID to actually decide how much of the goods are left, right, in your warehouse, and what are actually saleable, right? Which products are flying off the shelf, and therefore you need to predict and forecast your supply chain or even your production and bringing the goods on time, so that you can reap the maximum benefit of selling it to the customer and making a profit. Yeah. Okay. Later we'll see some good cases. Kevin, thanks for sharing. Yeah, RFID indeed is very useful for warehouse. In fact, the other application that some of you may also not know is that in our fire engine, the fire engine itself is equipped with RFID. Every time the fire engine needs to go off, right, the first thing they need to do is they need to check for 200 over items, right? In fact, even before they need to go off to fight a fire, they need to make sure that they conduct this check. And it's a very cumbersome and very tedious check. But right now, do you know what do? They put RFID tag at every of the item in a fire engine that they need to account for. So all they need to do before they drive off, or every now and then to check, they just have to sit in front of the driver's seat, and they look at this digital panel that tells them whether all the 200 over items that is tagged by RFID are there or are they absent. Yeah, absent, immediately they top it up. So that is again another good use case, right, for AI, for RFID, right? Okay. So in the retail industry, AI is also widely used to automate this retail operation, right? Just now, I think Kevin, right, talks about hotel. Okay, in the hotel industry, there were hotels that made use of chatbot, or what you call the IBM Watson. So what IBM Watson did is that if let's say you have always visited this hotel, it tries to personalize a service for you, right? And it knows your living habit based on the historical record. So it is able to know that, hey, at this time, you will hit the gym. So it will trigger you first. Yeah. Okay. And it will tell you that, hey, do you want to go to the gym, or you want to sleep, right? It can turn off the light automatically for you. Or this is a time that usually you have breakfast, right? So they will ask you, right, is it as usual? You say yes. Then they will trigger the kitchen, right, to actually deliver the breakfast to you, right? So these are all the use of AI, right? Or even some form of what you call natural language processing, because it must convert your language, right, into the words that it can understand. And after that, it search for the information or it trigger the action. Then it must come back to you with that natural language, right? So this is called natural language processing, which is also a part of AI, right? And because of that, you therefore deliver a better staycation, right? Hotel stay experience, right? So in terms of let's say in retail, let's say in Walmart, you can actually make use of what you call the IoT, Internet of Things, to actually trace the trail of people, where people usually walk, right? And when at the area where most of the consumer are likely to pass by, right? What can you do? You can put your promotion posters there, or you can put your promotion products there, correct? And then you can tie in your analysis with the POS. POS is a point of sales machine. So you know what is the product, right? That literally fly off the shelf, right? And when people buy these, right? Let's say when people buy beer, right? People usually buy peanut, right? So it's able to register that. And therefore it's able to tell you that when people buy this product, they will also buy this product. And what can you do in terms of your retail arrangement? You can actually put this product together and do a promotion for that, right? So that in turns help to deliver a far better shopping experience, right? Using analytics, right? Video analytics in particular, and sensor as well as sensor and IoT. Right, in a warehouse, I'm sure, I think Kevin spoke about that, which is true, right? We actually put the RFID tag, right? So you can detect your logistics in a warehouse, whether they are flying off the shelf, right? Whether they are depleting, or whether you have intent for too much of it, and therefore you can optimize, right? In terms of the procurement, right? Upwards and downwards supply chain, right? Yeah, feel free to stop me at any point of time. If let's say you have something that you want to share, right? Not necessarily a question. You have something to share based on your experience, right? Or you have some questions, right, about what I have shared. Okay, so of course, with that, what it means is that now you can identify products that are very saleable, and as well as products that are not so saleable, correct? And therefore do your pricing strategy in the retail industry, right? Based on your using your AI technology to mine that many data, right? Whether is it the numbers sold, the prices, and so on. And even to analyze your competitors' pricing strategy, right? And also their products, right? And in fact, one of the things you probably do not know, right, is now in process, right, in national parks, right, and parks, is that, predominantly around the whole Singapore, right, the grass cutting is usually the grass must be cut when it's long, especially at those public places, right? So now what NParks is doing, they're using AI as well as sensor IoT. They put in sensor to sense how tall the grass grow. Once it exceeds that maximum level, right, you automate the process of triggering the vendors, appointed vendors, to come down and cut the grass. And after they cut the grass, right, again, they will make use of the sensors to sense whether the grass cutting has been optimal before they automate the payment process, right? Which is the invoice, sending of invoice, and then of course is you still need somebody to go down to actually do a quick check in case the sensor is not working, right? Yeah, so that still needs to be done. Okay, so so in Europe, right, there was this European retailer who is able to improve the earning by doing what? By using a machine learning algorithm to anticipate the fruit and vegetable sales. So if they know that the fruit and vegetable sale is going to be high, right? So what can they do, right? Okay, they can do the scale of economy. They buy in bulk, huge numbers. So they save on the tax and all that as well, right? Okay, and also because the prices will be lower, especially when you buy more. Okay, so that actually helps. Okay. Okay, other cases you can see in the pictures over here, like on the right hand corner, let me just annotate a bit. Here, right, you can see over here, right, this is actually a automated like a logistic company, right? Logistic company. So they can like Okada, they can use big data and machine learning, and they use cloud to actually improve the operational efficiency. So they can help to separate the goods, send the goods in, place them into the different basket as required by customer, right? And therefore send it for packaging, right? So because of that, there's huge improvement in terms of operational efficiency and cost. Right below here, you see there's a robot, the auto robot. This auto robot can actually carry your pallets in a warehouse environment, right? Human, you ask human to carry, usually use forklift, right? Yeah, but forklift can have many issues because if you are not careful with the driving, right, your goods can drop on the ground and damage, right? Or as a result of your maybe poor driving skills of forklift, right, you could also cause damage to the goods. But with robots, right, it is quite safe, right? Yeah, because it do it really step by step, right? And it has sensor to sense, right? So that also helps to improve the operation for the warehouse, right? And as a result of this, they actually save a lot of costs, a lot of money, and this money they can actually pay forward by giving that promotion to the customers. So it's a win-win situation for all. Okay, let me now move to talk about another AI case study. Okay, you see at the screen over here, this is not new. This can be in the form of what you call augmented reality. That means AI coupled with augmented reality. We all know, right, even in the medical school today, let's say NUS School of Medicine, they are using virtual reality to train their doctors. Right, it's true, train their doctors on dissecting the anatomy and physiology part. Right, and not only that, they are also able, they have this device VR, virtual reality called VISE, that's able to let them put them through the various scenario, whether is it a disaster zone, whether it's an operating theater, and then they use virtual reality to actually do the necessary saving of lives. Right, so like checking the pulse, listen to the breathing, open the airways, things like that, right? Yeah, so this has really been in place for training. So augmented reality can be used very usefully using you and me, our handphones and even our iPad. So once you place your iPad over, right, the long row of goods is able to tell you, right, where are all the goods, right? Or which segment of the shelf has the goods, or you can even select like which one give you like a better promotion, or whether there's a promotion like 1 for 1 and all that, right? So in Germany, there was this e-commerce merchant, Otto, right? They actually cut their surplus stock by 20%, right? And reduce the product return by more than 2 million items. And all they do is they use deep learning, right, which is a form of AI, to analyze all billions of transactions, which is a lot of data, and therefore predict what customer will buy before they place an order. So it is able to predict. If it's able to predict, then what can it do? It can procure this item in advance, right? Because there's a certain accuracy that the customer will buy it, right? And therefore, they manage just by using AI alone to reduce product return, right? That means product that are not sellable, right? And also cut the surplus product that they stock up in anticipation. And sometimes the anticipation may be wrong, okay? And this system that the deep learning system or AI system that Otto has procured is actually 90% accurate, right? Which is quite high in forecasting what the firm will sell over the next 30 days, right? And therefore, Otto, right, allows the system to run on its own to order 200,000 items a month from vendors without any human intervention. Isn't that fantastic, right? Yeah, you can save costs, make a lot of money, and also free up space in your warehouse for goods that are not sellable, right? Now, just by using AI alone. Okay, in the 𝗟𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗲's warehouse, right, the machine learning, right, as I explained to you just now, it is able to steer thousands of products over all these conveyor belts that you're seeing over here, right, and deliver them to human just in time, right, by filling out the shopping bags, right, and they also have other robots that will bring these bags to the delivery vans. And when the driver drive, right, just like Grab driver, right, usually when Grab driver drive like Grab food and all that, right, they also have an app that supports them and tells them what is the shortest route to the customer place, right? Yeah, so that helps them to save time and also result in higher customer satisfaction using AI and algorithm, right? So same thing, right? They have an AI application that tells them what is the best route based on weather, based on traffic conditions, right? Okay. Another Japanese retailer, they use AI and machine learning, and they can understand what's the profitability that drivers had when they pick the location of a new concept store. So when they want to set up their brick and mortar store somewhere, right, they can use machine learning to see, okay, this type of location, this type of factors, like a 4-room HDB flat, right? How much profit can we make based on just that location alone? Because we all know, right, location must have high human traffic flow in order to be profitable, right? Yeah. So this AI is able to estimate not just based on the human traffic flow, but also based on other factors, right? Yeah. Okay. So let me move on. Okay, there are also other cases of use cases. Yes. Yeah, there are also other use cases of AI in retail, like facial recognition. I think this is very common, but nowadays it's made even more challenging with the wearing of masks, right? In order for facial recognition to be effective, you need at least 60 pixels in between the eyes. And the best way of doing facial recognition, right, is when you have to be guided to walk through a certain route, right? And then you can see your face accurately. Yeah, but today I think with AI, this can be overcome because of all the resolution and zooming in to your face, right? And therefore, it also allows what you call a digital human, right? So the next trend is actually digital human. They are digital people, right? But actually powered by chatbot technologies, right? So they are able to recognize you as a customer. They are able to greet you. They are able to take your orders as well. In fact, I think the payment industry has progressed so fast that in China, I think when you want to order from this KFC, right? Yeah, they can do facial recognition, and you smile, right? Straight away you do a payment, right? Without you taking out your card, right? To actually tap on it, right? So that is actually a higher customer satisfaction and efficiency. Okay, so machine learning has also is also able to personalize promotion. Like when, let's say we go to certain online portal like Amazon to buy items, right, like books, they will be able to use AI or machine learning algorithm to say that people who buy these books also buy this, right, to entice you to spend more and also to buy things that you find interesting and useful to you, right? Okay. Yes. So smartphone, Selena, you're right. Facial recognition, smartphone now is doing that, right? And only that now you can just look at it and get unlocked, right? Without you having to key in the password. And sometimes you forget your password. Yeah. So that's right. Yeah. So the next thing is that of course the other thing is that you can actually the in-store can actually push promotion and notification to your phone as well, right? If you allow it to tell you what is the promotion in the store, right? So that is also very personalized, very contextualized to your needs, right? And the other thing is that you can also make use of computer vision to identify what the shoppers place inside their bag, right? Okay, place inside their bag. And also, right, moving forward, maybe in future you don't need a self-checkout machine, right? Like in NTUC, FairPrice and all that. You can just take your bag as you walk through, right? Automatically, the computer vision or some form of sensor is able to sense all the objects inside your bag. And therefore, maybe using facial recognition, you can do a payment and then you can walk out. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that is what you call a non-stop checkout and automatic payment, right? That can actually be materialized using AI in the retail industry. Okay, the other thing that is our favorite now is drones. You know drones, right? So drones, they can actually do a lot of things like in facilities management, you can make use of drone to collect data and use AI to actually survey the rooftop, right? For any puddle of water, right? Any water leakage from the water tank, right? Or even unwanted growth, and therefore trigger your facilities guy to do the necessary, right? Or even trigger your vendors to do the necessary, right? So that is in its form of AI, because you're teaching the AI or the drones, right, to actually recognize, right, what is a puddle of water, what is unwanted growth on the rooftop, right, and what is what you call water leakage from water tank, right? So that's a possible AI use case in the case of facilities management. Okay, then moving forward, right, we all know that in the retail industry, you can also have a form of interactive screen, right? So you can select a product, even the clothes, right? Even your eyewear and all that, right? So it can tell you how you look like, right, with this product, right, to further entice you to actually spend, right? And of course, shopping cart, currently we have the manual type, but moving forward, there was a lot of anticipation that shopping cart will use AI, right, to do the autonomous moving. So it will follow you. So you don't have to pull it, don't have to drag it, right? You could use your strength, avoid the knocking to people and all that. So in this case, you can actually program an autonomous cart, right? And then use AI to teach it how to maneuver and how to follow the customer, right? And of course, the other thing you've been seeing in the, let's say NTUC FairPrice is the stores updates on the prices. So again, you can do it at a centralized place, right? You can update it and then all is updated at the same time, right? And then you can also collect data at the back end about your competitors' prices and do the necessary adjustment, of course, with your approval, right? Yeah, so as to maximize the revenue, right? So that all can be can be done tapping on AI, recognizing the patterns, right? And currently with COVID, right, they have also invented a robot called Corobot. Then this Corobot has a very flexible, many degrees of freedom arm, right? So it can use UV light to sanitize the area. It can do the spray, right? Yeah. So again, AI enhanced robot can do wonders even in the COVID. Of course, in the retail industry, you can use AI enhanced robot to help you to always help you to track the inventory of your goods, to recognize empty shelf, and even to replenish them, right? Or to trigger your vendors, right? And in a warehouse, as I mentioned to you, right, they can actually help to fill out the bags and bring the bags to the truck driver to drive it to a customer, right? So that's a good practice. Okay, so with that, this is my short but very condensed sharing with you about AI and how it's actually changing the world, right, in our digital economy.